authors, it's Melody. Welcome to Author Nation, your go-to resource for becoming a successful nonfiction author, everything from planning to promotion, everything in between. And today I am interviewing Cheri Merz of Meta Prosperity, and we are going to discuss a very important topic that a lot of authors don't do or don't know about: research. So let me introduce Cheri Merz to you. She is a wife, a mother of four, a grandmother, and I think this is exciting, a great-grandmother who has spent the last 20 plus years living her dream as a solopreneur. She is an author, a coach, an online course creator, and a retreat facilitator. She has written 30 plus novels and memoir, nonfiction books in just the past 7 years. Her company, Meta Prosperity, which means the state of having a fulfilling life in its most important aspects: relationships, spiritual, professional, physical, and financial, helps authors who want their message to land with impact, not only to achieve their desire, but to do so profitably. When not writing and supporting authors, she is most often found on Facebook, of all places, and or on a Colorado mountain trail. And that's what intrigues me. Hi, Cheri. Tell us about these Colorado mountain trails. I want to come visit you.
Oh, please do. Colorado is a beautiful state, as most people are aware. And when I lived in the Denver area, I was less than 45 minutes from miles and miles and miles of mountain trails that were groomed trails.
Beautiful.
And my friend and I spent at least a morning a week exploring all those trails. Now, unfortunately, my friend has moved back east and I have moved to western Colorado. So the mountain trails are now desert trails, and I don't get on them as often as I'd like, but I love to walk among the trees.
I also love walking and hiking, so I can imagine just loving it there in Colorado. So I'll have to put it on my list of places to hike and walk. So excellent. Let's dive in. Let's talk about research. So let's just start with very basics. Why should an author do research?
There are two types of research that an author should do. Mm-hmm. And of course, content research is, every author knows to do that. Now, the business authors that I help most often are experts in their own fields. So they don't have as much content research to do. But every business owner I know knows so much more than their readers want to know in one chunk. So that is where market research comes in. And market research consists of primary research, which is going to your target audience and asking them one-on-one, what do you want to know? And then there's secondary research. There's a wealth of research you can do on Amazon. And that's essentially what I teach in my course.
Yeah. So let's break this down. So I don't know how many times I've had authors come to me and say, well, I wrote a book that, it's like based on what I know, but like if I had known what I know now, I would have written a different book. And what you're saying is, if you do the research, if you do the reader research, then you will write the right book the first time. Can you just elaborate on that?
Absolutely. And that's the very point I want to make, is write the right book the first time. Mm-hmm. So I'll tell you a little story. I just not a couple of weeks ago finished the last class of my live classes for this session, and I had one of my students come to me and say, I am so glad that you told me to ask my audience what they wanted to know. None of them are interested in the book that I wanted to write. Can you imagine how much time that has saved her and heartache, because no one would be interested in the book that she wanted to write? Well, she's got a different angle, and therefore she can pivot. That word has been used way too much this past year.
Yes, the overused word of the year, pivot. So true.
Basically, every product manufacturer, every big company does focus group research, primary research, where they talk to the people that they expect to buy their product.
Yeah.
And as authors, we should do the same thing.
Point taken. Yeah, so I agree. How do we do that?
Well, my method has people begin with their circle of influence. And your circle of influence is either the people you know in your personal life, if you're writing, say, a novel or a memoir, or your clients or target audience, the people in your email list, people you find through networking who are the demographic of your target audience. And you simply ask them, would you mind getting on a Zoom call with me or a phone call with me and answering a few questions? It'll take 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And I suggest making at least 20 of those calls and making it ongoing, because I find that people who write one book tend to want to write another.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can always use, not everyone's going to say the same thing, of course. And as we know nowadays, people have shorter attention spans. No one wants to read a 500-page tome about your expertise. Yeah. So you can break it into chunks and have more books than one using that research. And the most important thing is to record the answers in the very words that your audience uses, because that will make it easier to market your books later.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So come up with a questionnaire, book some real time, not just like sending out a questionnaire and having them write answers down, but book some real time to do a Zoom call or some kind of call that you can record and ask a number of questions to them and take down use their real words, take down their real answers. And I guess doing it live, I can have my set of 10 questions, but if something comes up, I can say, hey, and I can ask further questions and get curious about things as well, right?
Absolutely. You can definitely ask follow-up questions of the individual.
Yeah.
Here are some other tips, if I could remember what I was about to say.
Yeah.
Ask everybody the same questions.
Yes.
Use a scientific way to go about it. Ask the same questions in the same order so that you can aggregate your data correctly.
Yes.
There was something else, but it went, went in one ear and out the other.
That's a great tip. And the other tip will come back. When it comes back, you'll let me know. Do you want to ask the same questions in the same order? What kinds of questions do you often suggest people ask? Like generally, are you looking at, age, gender, income, or are you looking at fears, beliefs? Like which, what kind of questions?
Nothing about demographic, because I don't believe it's necessarily relevant. I say that because as an older woman, you just said I am a great grandma. Yeah. I find it often insulting that people cut things off at age 50 or at age 60. I'm beyond that. I'm still interested.
Yes.
So I don't want to exclude anybody. At the same time, of course, you need to narrow your niche. But to get back to your question, the types of questions I ask are, what would you like to know about your this topic?
Yes.
So my first question is always, are you interested in this topic? And then, what would you like to know about it?
Yes.
How would you like to, I like to know how they would like to read a book, and by read, I mean loosely. Do you want it in ebook? Do you want it in hard copy? Do you want it an audio book?
Right.
How do you like to read? What type of learner are you? Auditory, visual, kinesthetic. It all depends on your niche if you're a business author.
Yeah.
And there are others. In fact, I have
Yeah, I'm sure they're
10 or 12 prescribed ones in my course.
That's brilliant. Yeah. So I have a question. One of the questions was, what do you want to know about this topic? Do you ever suggest people say, out of these 5 topics, which one interests you the most? Or do you suggest people just ask open questions and do a lot of listening?
That brings back the tip. So we're talking about one-to-one research, primary research, and you're going to end up with 3 to 5 topics that come up over and over and over again, sometimes in the same words. When I did my primary research for my course and asked what the biggest fears were about writing a book, almost everyone said, "Who am I to write this book?" in those words exactly.
Yes.
So, obviously we need to target imposter syndrome.
Yes.
So with these 3 to 5 topics, now you can create your surveys and take them to your email list or your social media and see which one resonates with the most people. That's your first book.
Yeah, brilliant. No, that's really brilliant. And this is maybe an obvious question, but I'm going to ask it just so you can elaborate on it a little bit, because I think it's really useful. So once you've done the research, how does that help you create the content of the book?
Well, we're not finished with the research because we've got to do secondary research. But all of this research leads to notes, which can become your table of contents. And I am a strong advocate of planning your book, not pantsing it, if your audience knows what that means.
Yes. If they've seen other videos of mine, they do.
I just had a correspondent from Sweden ask if that meant you're sitting in front of your computer so much that the seat of your pants becomes thin.
It means you haven't planned a thing and you're just
winging it. So I'm a strong advocate of planning your book, at least to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
But every question that comes up can become, or every answer that you get can become a chapter title, for example. You just need to massage your data until it flows in logical fashion. And your book essentially plans itself once you know what your readers want to know.
Yeah, no, I love that answer. And we're not done with research yet, so I'm just really curious. I got so excited about the primary research today. I strongly believe, like you do, that if you do the right research, you'll write the right book and you'll be far more successful. So let's back up and talk about secondary research. So once your primary research is done, you've done the interviews, and then you can create a questionnaire. You can send that questionnaire out to your list on social, to your clients, whatnot. But there's also secondary research you can do. Do you want to tell us more about that?
Sure. My system relies on Amazon. It's the 800-pound gorilla for online distribution. Mm-hmm. And there is a wealth of information that you can get to just as a user of Amazon. And even more with a nifty little software package that I happen to be an affiliate of. But you can determine what the top selling books in your category look like on their covers. You can determine how long they are. You can even see inside most of them, see what the table of contents is to see whether you're overlapping them or whatever. You can look at the reviews, see what people like and don't like about them.
Yes.
You can see how they're structured based on the table of contents. There's so much you can learn from Amazon. And obviously, you want to emulate the top selling books. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter if someone else has already written the same type of book you want to write, because it doesn't have your perspective. It doesn't have your experience or wisdom. Wow. And it will sell, even if it's got the same title as 6 other books.
Yeah.
Whoops. I hit my keyboard and lost you. Okay.
Oh, no.
I will sit on my hands.
Such a love technology.
I have a love-hate relationship with technology.
Don't we all? I agree. Yeah, no, that's great. So I had a question about the reviews. So I know that for me, when I'm product shopping, whether it's a book or another product, I will look at the reviews. And I often look at the the 5-star, I love this reviews, but I'll also go look at the 1-star, I hate this review. And I find that really useful. And what I've learned is sometimes the 1-star reviews are very helpful, right? Like it's constructive criticism. I didn't like this because, and here are my reasons. And if they'd done it this way, that'd be great. And then there are the 1-star reviews that say garbage, awful, don't buy, and they're not useful at all, right? And so
Right.
I've kind of learned that when I'm looking at reviews to, when somebody 5-star, I love it, buy it, versus I really like this book, I like the way it's organized, I like the way the author did this. So looking at reviews, I find it's useful to figure out like the content, not just go, yeah, it's a good review, a bad review, but like, what does the person really have to say? Is the review thoughtful versus emotional, if that makes sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so do you suggest people look at reviews, but look at them in a certain way?
Oh, definitely. People will 1-star a book because the hard copy arrived with a corner folded down. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And, they say reviews are for other buyers, not for the author.
Yeah.
But an author can learn a lot from reading their reviews. Although, if you've got thin skin, I recommend you have a trusted someone read your reviews instead and just tell you what you need to know rather than reading them yourself.
Yeah.
But you can, I think people are getting more sophisticated in determining what reviews are valuable and what aren't.
Yeah.
You're right. Just, I love this book, buy it, that's not particularly helpful. Who are you?
Yes.
And why do you love the book? And are you anything like me? Would I love it also? I don't know, because you haven't told me why you love it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And of course, a 1-star that's just mean-spirited is not, it's not relevant.
Yeah.
But it's useful to the author in that all 5 stars makes people think that you've purchased all your reviews. So don't worry about a 1-star. I mean, it's annoying, especially if you get a 1-star with no commentary, so that it drags down your average without anyone being able to see what the person was mad about.
Yes.
But reviews are very helpful, and they're helpful to the researcher because if you can see what people like and what they don't like.
Yes.
And
you can improve. You can take what's on the market and improve on it and make it better, make it newer, make it, more unique or whatnot, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we have our primary research and our secondary research. Am I missing anything? Did we talk about all the different types so far? I think we did, right?
Yes.
I didn't want to skip it. I didn't want to get excited.
No, we touched on content research.
Okay.
And then we went in depth into market research and primary, secondary, and if you want to create a survey to see what resonates with even more people than you've spoken to, then you can do that once you've done at least 20 primary research calls.
Perfect. So is that the end of it? So I've done my primary research, I've done my secondary research, and I've pulled this all together and I've written the right book. Is that the end of how I'm going to use this research?
No.
Okay. There's more.
No, you're going to write your first draft, of course, and then you're going to perfect it as much as you can, and then send it off to pros for the editing and copy and proofreading and all of that. You're hopefully going to get a professional to create your book cover. And then we didn't talk about researching categories and keywords.
Yes.
And so that's, another piece of secondary research. But you're going to determine what categories your book will best fit in.
Yeah.
And what categories that they have the best opportunity to become a bestseller in.
Yeah.
Because you're going to use all of that in your marketing when you publish. And just full disclosure here, I'm all about self-publishing.
Okay, perfect.
There are some reasons to traditionally publish, but the barriers are high. The length of time is long.
Yes.
And unless you're writing something that your publisher will put in every grocery store in the nation, you're not going to get any more reach with a traditional publisher than you can with as a self-published author if you do it right. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm all about publishing directly to Amazon, unless you want to go wide, and there are ways to do that as well.
Yeah.
But all of that research leads into your marketing. You're using the words that your target audience has used in your marketing copy, in the title of your book, in your blurb, your description on Amazon. And you're also using it as keywords to watch the Amazon drop down when you put it in the menu. And suddenly a drop down opens, you can see what keywords people are actually searching for, and use those as your 7 keywords.
Yeah, and that makes perfect sense. So you do this research, and it helps you write the right book the first time, and then you use the same research to help market the books. As you said for your course, if everyone you talk to says, "Who am I to write this book?" Those words right there. Those words need to go somewhere in your marketing, because that's what people are going to resonate with. And they resonate with that, they're going to be, okay, I'm in the right place. I need help with imposter syndrome. I can get help here. Therefore, I belong here, right? So recognizing yourself and doing that for your book, right? Letting potential readers recognize themselves in the language you're using in your marketing, so that they're like, yeah, I would have said that. This is obviously the book I should read, right?
Yes, it helps them self-select. So if I said imposter syndrome, they might not recognize it.
Right.
But if I say, who am I to write this book? They recognize that, because everyone resonates with it. 95 to 100% of authors recognize that feeling, whether it's constant or fleeting. It happens.
Yeah, and those are the words they say to themselves. They don't say, I have imposter syndrome. They say, who am I to write this book, right?
Right.
So it makes perfect sense. And so, and so it'll help. One thing that comes to mind is it helps authors get away from that jargon that they think is appropriate, and start using the language of the reader themselves, so that they can really relate to the book and the marketing.
So important. Yeah. So important for experts, because experts have this, speaking of jargon, expert blindness. They know what they know. They don't know what their readers don't know.
Exactly.
They assume everyone knows what they're talking about, just like I assumed in my email that my readers would understand, my audience would understand seat of your pants.
Yes.
And most Americans would. This Swedish lady, it didn't compute for her. She had to write and ask me, what did I mean by that?
She's probably translating it, right?
No, her English is way better than my Swedish.
Yes.
Her English is excellent. I've read a little story of hers that she wrote in English rather than in Swedish, and it's
brilliant. Yeah. But when you come across a word in a language that you don't know, sometimes what you do is you try to translate it back to your language to see if it computes. Yeah. But often it doesn't, right?
When it's idiomatic, frequently doesn't. You're right.
Lots of things we can't translate. So we've talked about primary research, and we've talked about secondary research, and we've talked about research helping you with the content of the book. Talked about market research, helping you, write the right book. And we've talked about then extending that into the marketing of your book as well. Have we missed anything?
Not really. I mean, we could go into launch and ongoing marketing, but that's, it's still marketing.
Yes. Yeah, it helps with the marketing of the book. And that's all, you teach courses, and that's all in your courses. Is that correct?
Most of what we've talked about today is in my signature course, Published Author Blueprint.
Okay, brilliant.
And what isn't in that is in my year-long coaching program.
Yeah, brilliant. And so you have a signature course and a coaching program. Who do you love to work with? Who's your favorite type of book or author to work with?
It's hard to answer that question.
Yeah.
Because I have yet to meet a student whose book doesn't fascinate me. I've got students writing books that began with their mother's memoir. I've got students writing high fantasy. I've got students writing philosophy books with a light twist. And I love to work with people who want to work with me. Right. But as a category, most of my content is aimed at the business writer, the coach, the course creator, the aspiring speaker, right, the entrepreneur who knows they need to write a book to expand their reach and establish their credibility and their authority, doesn't quite know how to go about it.
Yes.
They're confident of their content, but everything else is kind of a mystery to them. And I just love opening their worlds.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds fabulous. So where can we find you?
My website is metaprosperity.org. Make sure you say .org because .com is parked somewhere.
Okay.
It's not mine. Or you can find me on Facebook and ask to join my group, The Write Expert, Write being WRITE.
Yes, yes.
And you can find me on LinkedIn.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, we will put all of this in the description as well. So if you're watching and you're like, how do I get a hold of Cheri? Just go to the description. All the links will be there, as will a 12-page workbook that Cheri has put together, the 6 steps to a high-quality client-attracting book. She has a workbook. The link is in the description. You can go down there and grab that as well. Cheri, thank you so much for giving us your gems of wisdom today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for the lovely time. I had a great time here.
Good. I think all authors will benefit greatly from your advice. Authors, thank you for watching. Everything is in the description, as I said, that you'll need all the links to the Facebook group and her website and her workbook. And we'd love to hear what you think. So leave us a comment, give us a thumbs up, give us some thumbs up love. And if you'd like to hear more, please subscribe.